Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Chronicles of Karma, where justice always finds its way. Remember, karma is always watching. What goes around always comes around. If you believe in karma, smash that like button right now. If you know that people who mistreat others always get what they deserve, right? Karma is real. In the comments, let's start with truth. Marcus Richardson stood in his luxury penthouse and looked his wife dead in the eyes. "You're worthless," he spat. "You contribute nothing to this marriage. Nothing." His wife, Elena, simply smiled and whispered, "You're right, Marcus. I contribute nothing." 48 hours later, Marcus lost his penthouse, his cars, his company, and his mind. His lawyer called, voice shaking, "Mr. Richardson, do you have a idea who your wife actually is?" Don't miss Chapter 12, where karma delivers the most satisfying blow you've ever seen. This is a story you won't believe, but every word is about to shake you. Let's begin. Elena Martinez now. Elena Richardson stood in the kitchen of their $8 million penthouse at 6 a.m., just like she did every morning for the past 5 years. She'd already been up since 4:30, working on her laptop in the home office. Marcus never entered. Now she was making his breakfast. Organic eggs, turkey bacon, fresh squeezed orange juice, and perfectly pressed coffee. Everything exactly how he liked it. Elena was 32, with kind brown eyes and a gentle smile that made people trust her instantly. She wore simple clothes, jeans, and comfortable sweaters, and kept her dark hair in a practical ponytail. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive. To everyone who knew them, Elena was the lucky one. She'd married Marcus Richardson, the successful CEO of Richardson Luxury Developments. At 38, Marcus was handsome, wealthy, and powerful. He wore custom Italian suits, drove a Bentley, and his name appeared regularly in business magazines. Their penthouse overlooked Central Park. Marcus had told everyone he'd bought it with his brilliant business acumen. Elena never corrected him. Marcus came down the stairs, already on his phone, gesturing as he talked about property acquisitions and profit margins. He grabbed the coffee Elena had prepared without looking at her, took a long drink, and gave her that dismissive smile she'd grown to hate. "Thanks," he said absently, still typing on his phone. Elena waited. She'd made his favorite breakfast. She'd woken up early. She'd spent an hour making sure everything was perfect. "Marcus," she said softly, "I wanted to talk to you about something." He looked up, annoyed at the interruption. "What?" "It's our anniversary next week. 5 years. I thought maybe we could." "Elena, I don't have time for this right now. I'm closing the biggest deal of my career. Can we talk about dinner plans later?" "It's not about dinner. It's about us. We haven't really talked in months. I feel like we're roommates, not married." Marcus's phone buzzed. He looked at it, and his face changed, a mixture of excitement and something else, something guilty. "I have to go," he said quickly, grabbing his briefcase. "Don't wait up tonight. I'll be late." He was gone before Elena could respond. She stood in that massive kitchen, surrounded by marble countertops and top-of-the-line appliances, and felt more alone than she had in years. What Marcus didn't know, what he'd never bothered to ask about, was that Elena spent those early morning hours running an empire. She wasn't just making breakfast. She was making decisions that moved millions of dollars across global markets. But she'd kept it hidden. For 5 years, she'd played the role of the simple, grateful wife. And she was about to find out exactly how much that cost her. After Marcus left, Elena returned to her home office and locked the door. The room transformed. Multiple monitors lit up, showing real-time market data, property portfolios, and business analytics. Her phone, her real phone, not the basic one Marcus knew about, buzzed with messages from her executive team. Elena Martinez wasn't just Marcus's wife. She was Elena Martinez, the ghost investor who'd built a $3.7 billion fortune by the age of 28. She'd started with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Orphaned at 15, Elena had spent 3 years in the foster system. She'd worked overnight shifts at convenience stores while going to community college during the day. She'd taught herself coding, finance, and investment strategy from library books and free online courses. By 19, she'd saved $3,000 and invested it in a struggling tech startup everyone else had written off. She'd seen something others hadn't the potential in their algorithm. 6 months later, that company was acquired by Google for $200 million. Elena's stake was worth $4.2 million. She'd taken that money and disappeared into the world of anonymous investment. She created a network of shell companies, blind trusts, and strategic partnerships. She funded startups, bought undervalued real estate, and made moves so quietly that Forbes never even knew her name. By 25, she was worth $500 million. By 28, over $3 billion. And then she'd met Marcus at a charity gala. She'd been there anonymously, as she always was, dressed simply, observing. Marcus had been there to network, to be seen. He'd approached her by accident, thinking she was a caterer. "Can you get me another champagne?" he'd asked, not rudely, just absently. Elena had been amused, rather than offended. "I don't work here," she'd said. Oh, Marcus had looked embarrassed. "Sorry, you just looked. I mean, everyone here is so dressed up, and you're simple," Elena had finished, smiling. "I was going to say comfortable." He'd smiled back, genuinely this time. "I'm Marcus Elena." They'd talked all night. Marcus had been charming, funny, and surprisingly vulnerable. He'd told her about his struggles building his company, about the pressure, about feeling like he always had to prove himself. Elena had fallen for that version of Marcus, the honest, striving, human version. When he'd proposed 6 months later, she'd said yes. And she'd made a decision. She wouldn't tell him about the money. Not yet. She wanted him to love her, not what she had. She'd convinced herself it was a test. If he could love her thinking she was ordinary, then the love was real. For 5 years, she'd played the part. She'd pretended her small online consulting work paid for her modest expenses. She'd let Marcus think he provided everything. She'd made herself small so he could feel big. And slowly, imperceptibly, Marcus had changed. The vulnerability disappeared. The gratitude turned to entitlement. The partnership became a hierarchy. And Elena had watched it happen, hoping each day that the man she'd fallen in love with would come back. Now, sitting in her secret office, reading the text messages on Marcus's phone that had automatically synced to her security system, Elena finally admitted the truth. That man was never coming back. Because he'd never really existed. The messages were from a woman named Amber. They'd been seeing each other for 8 months. The texts were explicit, making plans, talking about a future together. And in the most recent message, Amber had written, "When are you going to leave that boring wife of yours? She's so plain. You deserve someone exciting." Marcus had responded, "Soon, once the Henderson deal closes, I won't need her family connections anymore." Elena read that line 3 times. Family connections. What family connections? She had no family. She'd been an orphan. And then she understood. Marcus thought she was connected to the Martinez family, the billionaire Martinez family that owned half the real estate in Miami. He'd married her thinking she was that Martinez. She wasn't. She was Elena Martinez from nowhere, with no family, who'd built everything herself. Marcus had married her for connections she didn't have. He'd spent 5 years with her for an advantage that didn't exist. And now he was cheating, planning to leave and calling her worthless. Elena closed her laptop and made a decision. It was time for Karma to meet Marcus Richardson. Marcus's company, Richardson Luxury Developments, was built on one thing: leverage. He'd take investment money, develop luxury properties, flip them for profit, and repeat. It was a good business model when you had capital and credibility. Marcus had neither. Not really. What he had was Elena's money, though he didn't know it. The penthouse he thought he'd bought with his brilliant deal-making. Elena had purchased it through a shell company and sold it to him at a massive loss. She'd wanted them to have a beautiful home. His company's line of credit from First National Bank, backed by an anonymous investor who'd guaranteed his loans. That investor was Elena. His last 3 major developments that had made his reputation. Funded by silent partners who'd taken unusual small returns. Those partners were Elena's shell companies. For 5 years, Elena had been the invisible foundation holding up Marcus's entire world. And he'd never once wondered why everything always worked out for him. He'd just assumed he was brilliant. Now, he was going for his biggest deal yet. The Henderson property. The Henderson estate was 40 acres of prime Manhattan real estate, the last undeveloped parcel in a rapidly gentrifying area. Whoever developed it would make hundreds of millions. Marcus had been negotiating for months. He'd beaten out bigger companies, more established developers, bigger names. He couldn't believe his luck. What he didn't know was that Elena owned 60% of the Henderson property through one of her trusts. She'd been the one ensuring his bids kept advancing. She'd been planning to give him the deal as an anniversary gift. She'd wanted to see him succeed, but that was before she'd read his messages. Before she'd heard him call her worthless. Before she'd realized their entire marriage was based on his assumption of who she was connected to, not who she actually was. Now, Elena had different plans. She picked up her phone, her real phone, and called her attorney, David Chen. David had been with her from the beginning, had helped structure every deal, and knew all her secrets. "David, it's Elena. I need you to do something for me." "What's going on? You sound different." "I'm done hiding. Marcus is closing the Henderson deal next week. I want you to be in that room when he does." "Why? That deal is basically your gift to him." "Not anymore. I'm calling it off. And I'm about to show my husband exactly who he married." There was a long pause. Then David said, "Are you sure?" "I've never been surer of anything in my life. What goes around, David. It's time for it to come back around." Their 5th anniversary arrived on a Tuesday. Elena woke up at 4:30 a.m. as always, but this time she didn't work. She sat in the pre-dawn darkness of their penthouse and thought about 5 years of invisible love. 5 years of cooking meals that went unnoticed. 5 years of listening to Marcus talk about HIS achievements that were built on her money. 5 years of making herself smaller so he could feel bigger. She'd done it for love. But love was supposed to be a two-way street. She'd been the only one traveling. Elena had made a decision 3 days ago. After reading those messages, she was going to give Marcus one final chance. One last opportunity to see her. Really see her, before Karma did its work. She spent the day preparing. She cooked his favorite meal, braised short ribs with truffle mashed potatoes and roasted vegetables. She'd spent hours on it. She bought a dress, the first expensive one she'd worn in 5 years. She did her hair and makeup. She wanted him to see her trying. Marcus came home at 7 p.m. On his phone, as always. "No, tell them we're not budging on price. The Henderson deal closes Friday." "I'm not." He stopped when he saw Elena. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe even appreciation. "Wow," he said. "You look nice. What's the occasion?" "It's our anniversary, Marcus. 5 years today." His face went blank. He'd forgotten. Right, of course. I'm sorry, baby. I've just been so focused on the Henderson deal. It's been crazy. I made dinner. Your favorite, but I can't tonight. I have a business dinner with the investors. This deal is too important. Elena felt something crack inside her chest. She'd given him one chance, one opportunity to choose her over business, over ego, over everything else. He'd failed. Marcus, I need to talk to you. It's important. Can it wait until after Friday? Once this deal closes, I promise we'll do something special. Maybe a weekend trip. Whatever you want. What I want is for my husband to spend our anniversary with me. Marcus's phone buzzed. He looked at it, probably amber, and his expression changed. Elena, I really don't have time for this emotional stuff right now. I'm under a lot of pressure. Can you just not make this harder than it has to be? And there it was. The words that would change everything. Make what harder, Marcus? He looked at her, and she saw it clearly for the first time. He was annoyed. Annoyed that she was asking for attention. Annoyed that she existed. Nothing. Look, enjoy the dinner. I'll eat when I get back. He started to leave. Marcus, he turned back, impatient. Elena made her choice. No more waiting. No more hoping he'd change. I want a divorce. The room went silent. Marcus stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. What? I want a divorce. I'm done. Elena, you're being dramatic. You're upset because I forgot our anniversary. I get it. I'm sorry. But divorce. That's extreme. It's not about the anniversary, Marcus. It's about 5 years of being invisible to you. 5 years of you taking everything I give and giving nothing back. 5 years of being treated like I'm worthless. Worthless. I never said you were worthless. You didn't have to say it. You show me every single day. Marcus's face hardened. You want to do this now? Fine. Let's be honest. What exactly do you contribute to this marriage, Elena? Excuse me, I'm serious. I work 14-hour days building my company. I paid for this penthouse. I pay for everything. You do some little online consulting thing that barely covers your personal expenses. So tell me, what exactly do you contribute? Elena felt strangely calm. This was it. The moment she'd been waiting for without knowing it. You're right, Marcus. I contribute nothing. Then why are you asking for a divorce? You'd be stupid to leave. You'll have nothing. I'll take my chances. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed, Elena. Be realistic. You have no family, no real income, no assets. If you divorce me, you'll be living in a studio apartment, working retail. Is that really what you want? What I want is to stop being married to someone who doesn't see me. I see you, fine. I see someone who has a great life because of my hard work. And now you're throwing a tantrum because I forgot one anniversary. Grow up. That was the moment. That was when Elena knew she'd made the right decision. You're right again, Marcus. You see me perfectly clearly. And I see you, too. Finally, she walked to the door, grabbed the coat she'd already packed with essentials. Where are you going? To a hotel? My lawyer will contact you on Monday, after your big deal closes. I wouldn't want to distract you from what's really important. Elena, you're being ridiculous. She turned back one last time. Let me ask you something, Marcus. In 5 years, have you ever asked about my day? About what I do? About who I actually am? He opened his mouth, closed it. Nothing came out. That's what I thought. Sign the papers when they come. It'll be easier for both of us. And what exactly do you think you're going to get in this divorce? We have a prenup. You get nothing. Elena smiled. It was not a nice smile. We'll see about that. Enjoy your dinner, Marcus, and your deal, and your penthouse. Enjoy all of it while you can. She left Marcus standing in that kitchen, surrounded by the anniversary dinner he'd never eat. having no idea that his entire world was about to collapse. Karma was coming, and it was arriving in exactly 72 hours.